This is Rudo Radio coming to you from the 559.
Hello, and welcome to Rudo Radio, SB Nation, and Cage Side Seats, weekly wrestling podcast. I'm Nick Bond, joined as ever by Mr. Mark Normandan. Mark, how are you?
It is only Wednesday. Dear Lord.
What a week.
Dear Lord. Luckily, there aren't going to be many weeks left since, the whole Paris Climate Accord thing. I know this is a wrestling podcast, but wrestling needs climates too.
No, they don't. They can ride out on the ocean of awesomeness.
It'd be cool when they have WrestleMania in the middle of the ocean next time it's in New York. But
yeah, if Aquaman can do it,
can Aquaman do anything besides talk to fish?
Last week was Superman. This week is Aquaman.
I'm sorry that you like the inferior brand.
Fuck you. I like my Unbeatable Squirrel Girls. I like my Miss Marvels. I like the Mighty Thor. I don't want to hear about Spider-Man's emo bullshit. I'm sorry.
Well,
I get it. Everybody around you dies. Walk it off.
Whose fault
You're
is that,
a fucking
Peter?
spider.
Maybe if you were better Spider-Man, Peter, people would still be alive.
That's the entire theme of the comic is maybe if you were a better Spider-Man, Peter.
Which is great. I love one that just fucking dunks on him for the entire run.
Yeah. There is a pay-per-view this week, so we should probably talk about that at some point.
So.
Yeah, it is a week that ends in a day with a Y, so.
I mean, the pay-per-views are great because either they're really good to build on whatever's been happening on television, or they're a way to break the horrible cycle that led to them.
Yeah, they've been really good refreshers. I don't really have any actual complaints about the amount of shows beyond us having to cover them every other week. But that's a small problem in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, that is a media complaint for the liberal elite. It's not it's not a problem for the real Americans.
But at the same time, it would be cool to not have to spend every Sunday all right, I can't miss this because then I'll have to watch it on Monday or throughout the week if I'm working. They have their claws in me or their hooks in me.
Yeah, what's going on Sunday nights that we need to watch instead? Remember that Game of Thrones isn't back on television yet.
I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't watch football. I don't watch...
Yeah,
I don't know what's on television on Sunday. Those are the only two things.
I think the last time I watched Sunday Night Baseball, I hope my bosses aren't listening, was whenever I was at a bar and it happened to be on.
Well, once you get rid of John Miller and Joe Morgan, what's the point?
I mean, there's lots of points. I like John Miller.
I love John Miller. I really hate Joe Morgan. I think that's the consensus for...
I should have started watching again after Kurt Schilling was gone.
Oh, God. He was on there. I forgot.
Somehow.
He's... I was going to say...
Fuck it. I don't even want to talk about that asshole. Kurt, if you're listening, you suck. You were the worst.
You suck.
I crashed into that asshole on 2 separate occasions, and neither of them was my fault. Okay? At PAX East years ago, when he was showing his stupid game that he stole all that money from Rhode Island for, he just walked around a corner and slammed into me. So there was that, but then there was also, that was the second time. The first time was when he did a rehab start at Pawtucket, and he just pushed through the crowd with his massive frame and tried to bowl me over. And I'm sitting there going man, if this dickhead tripped on me and hurt his ankle again, I would be the one that everyone was this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He got in the way. And it's no, this giant mountain of a man just fucking.
If you would have cost us a World Series, I would have fought you.
I think it was 2008 anyway.
Okay, so you didn't do anything. It's fine. Yeah. He was terrible at that point.
Although looking back, if the Red Sox lost in 2007 because Kurt Schilling, had an embarrassing fall, it might have been worth it. Anyway, let's talk about wrestling. Fuck that. You suck. So Kurt.
Yeah, the pay-per-view this week is Raw. It's a Raw pay-per-view. It's not called Raw. It's called Extreme Rules, and it has Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy as the poster.
The Hardy Men's.
The Hardy Men's. Which feels weird, not because they're not extreme, because they're kind of old, but because they chose a cage match instead of
Team Extreme. So,
does that start with an E though, or was that just straight X?
I don't remember. It was years ago.
Even more extreme, triple X.
Oh no, that's probably copyrighted
by the WWE.
No.
They have all those weird copyrights that you.
I mean, look at Vin Diesel's got that. He's got that locked down.
Oh yeah, it took me a second to realize he is one of the two stars of the Triple X franchise.
Yes.
Ice Cube is the other one, right? It was Ice Cube.
Is it still Ice Cube? I don't know. Whatever. Let's talk about something that involves a wrestling ring. Vin Diesel isn't even feuding with The Rock anymore. Or at least not in a ring, so.
Speaking of The Rock.
No.
Yes. We have to talk about SmackDown Live before we get into the Raw pay-per-view, which is Extreme Rules, in case I didn't mention that. SmackDown was SmackDown-y this week.
The worst part was definitely Randy Orton talking.
America, my grandfather's white people. That's what he said, right?
Pretty much. I do like that Orton got tired of his own bullshit halfway through it, and it was just like, whatever, I already have a match. Why am I even talking?
You talk. I'm tired. Yeah. Nappy time.
It's just that's great. That's wonderful. I mean, Randy Orton did have a good moment this week, though, that we should spotlight. It just didn't happen on television.
But when he RKO'd a child?
RKO'd his own kid into a pool. Because, he spawned the whole RKOs into pool thing just because it's a safe place to do an RKO. So coming back full circle and Randy Orton actually doing it and getting in on that whole thing is pretty wonderful. Also, if you throw it into the bin of he just didn't want someone to do a dive near him.
Yeah, it works. It works on a lot of different levels. What isn't working for me on a lot of different levels is tag team matches every week between 4 or 5 guys. Matches with 4 or 5 guys where they keep on having tag matches with different pairings.
You might want to restart because it sounded like you're just describing tag team wrestling in general.
Well, I mean that aren't already tag teams like the Usos or the New Day or Breezango or the Clones, but more like Shinsuke and Sami Zayn.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes,
where they're like, hey, you guys, you should kiss or tag. We can't figure out which ones.
I will say, though, I appreciate that for the second week in a row, and SmackDown's pretty good about this, they didn't just make a match with the inmates running the asylum sort of thing. Sami Zayn was like, let's have a tag match, but hold on. Let's get approval from Shane McMahon, who is in charge of the show. It's the second week in a row because the previous week it was, Breezango being like, yo, let's do this championship match right now. And the Usos going, yeah, okay, let's do it. And the ref went, hold on. I have to ask authority figure, Shane McMahon, if we can do this.
Who's not watching the show, so I don't even understand why they're calling.
It's a nice little touch, whereas Raw sometimes you forget, either you have 2 levels of everything just happens because the wrestler demands that it happens in that moment and nobody stops them, or you have Stephanie McMahon running in, taking credit for everything.
Well, I guess here's a question before we... Is it implied that they have a set match card and are willing to work around with that match card? Or is it that they make a match card with, time to fill? Because they assume, given their history, someone's going to demand a match against someone else by the end of this show.
I think you have a skeleton. You've got a plan. You've got a plan in case for some reason everyone's on really good behavior. But these people are dicks. They're gonna they're going to demand something or other, and you just kind of give in. Last week was great because the reason there was room on the card for a spontaneous tag team title match was because the 2 singles matches they had planned among those guys went so quickly, where they were like 2 minutes total. So then it was like, oh shit, we have an extra 10. We thought that was going to take 15 minutes.
We have time to fill. Go ahead.
So Shane was probably just looked at a calendar. He looked at the board out back, and he was like, yeah, we got time. Go, that's fine. And this week you've got the bonus of the 5-way elimination match, which there's a huge chunk of time for. Didn't happen. So it's kind of
speaking of Shane, why not do that on the video board?
No. I think that's hilarious. I criticize Shane all the time, and I think him just being like, well, all the ladies are dead. We got some time to kill.
Here comes the money.
I'm just gonna dance my way down. It's kind of great that he was like, yeah, there's no rush. And he wasn't mad about them doing this. He was just like, well, if you ladies are gonna fight like this, I might as well make some money off of it, huh? Dances. Like, it was, in a weird way, it's like the most character Shane McMahon has shown in a long time.
Oh yes, for Shane McMahon, it totally makes sense because he's a real piece of work, but like then also have him just tell the New Day that they had a match and not the Usos, where they're like, no, we already talked to Shane McMahon, and the New Day has never been on SmackDown.
Yeah, but
like the Usos have been around SmackDown for the last several weeks. You figure they may have heard like, hey, when the New Day comes back, I've heard that you might have a match with them. Like
maybe Shane was going to announce it later, and the New Day stole his thunder.
Do you think he's mad about that? Do you think they're going to build a storyline out of that where he's an evil authority figure, but only towards the New Day?
Thank God, no.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
I am excited for the New Day.
Doesn't give a shit, I'm sure. He's just like, whatever. I'm not mad about them coming in and getting a tag title match right away, only because Breezango had multiple chances. American Alpha is like off on another plane of existence right now for whatever reason, finding themselves, I don't know what.
Are they in the wasteland?
Maybe. They might be in the wasteland. Speaking of, where's the Ascension? Where's everyone else in that division? I mean, they're doing a good job at the top right now, but New Day showing up and just being like, by the way, longest reigning champions of all time? Yeah, we asked for a title match and we got it. But like, they're not in anyone's way, technically, right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, where there's no claim to the number one contendership that's real in any way, so they could conceivably be like, listen, we're like the biggest stars in the tag team division over the last 10 years. Do you think we could get a title match? Please.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily like anyone who comes in and asks Shane McMahon is automatically going to be granted a title match, but the New Day are the huge stars of their division, so yeah,
for now
they're going to get it. It's not really different than like the Hardys showing up at Mania and just being like, by the way, we're in a title match, even though we literally just showed up. Because, it's the fucking Hardys.
Yeah, they're enormous stars and multiple-time champions. I am okay with that kind of favoritism for the first time you're on like a new show or you come back. It's assumed that part of the deal of you going over was like, hey, we got a title shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, even Charlotte didn't get... It's not like she got unlimited opportunities against Naomi. Like,
exactly,
she got the one, and then Shane was like, okay, well, back to life as usual.
Back to life, back to reality.
Don't do that.
That's a really good song. It's my favorite song. It's also the genesis for the idea of the reality era, so that's... Triple H was listening to it and was like, oh, genius. I have to say, there have been a lot of good Fashion Files segments. This one might be the best.
It took me longer than I want to admit to realize that they found cologne and thought that maybe the colognes left it there. Like, once it hit me, I was like, oh my god. There's, like, that... It was both super obvious and also, like, brilliantly subtle.
Yeah, which is their shtick. Is they're, like, funny on the face of things, but they're also, like, what they were saying when they're in their own heads, because it's all, like, narrative. There's a voiceover, and they're doing competing voiceovers for people that didn't see it. And them finding out that they can talk to each other is this, like, like, oh, you can hear my thoughts too.
It was amazing. Also, finding out that Tyler Breeze maybe isn't dressing up to be undercover. He just likes dressing up. Yeah, he just likes dressing up in outfits.
Yeah, and he's a fashionista, so it totally makes sense.
I very much appreciate that they continually have Tyler Breeze dress up in weird things, dress up as a woman, but it's never a situation where you're supposed to laugh at Tyler Breeze or at women.
No.
Like, they very much do it where it's like everyone's in on this joke where, like, he's just, he's moved into...
He just feels comfortable in women's clothing.
Yeah, he's moved into this, like, master of disguise thing, and, like, dressing up as a woman is part of it.
Yeah.
And the joke is really on, like, whoever they're facing. Or it's just something for the audience to laugh at.
Yeah, he is a master of disguise who appears in his free time to enjoy dressing like a woman. I don't see that's, like, completely reasonable.
And Fandango just complimenting him on the deep V on his dress was also amazing. Yeah,
they're very okay with him. It's really interesting to watch characters that don't have these weird hang-ups about their, like, macho-ness or anything. Like they're the opposite of toxically masculine. Like, they just don't care. They're really proud of themselves, they like the way they look, and they don't really care what other people think.
I mean, if this was the Attitude Era, Tyler Breeze would be running around screaming about how, don't worry, I like to have sex with women.
Yeah.
Over and over again. Like The Rock did every time he, like, made a joke about a man's ass. He then had to remind you that he likes sex with ladies.
Yeah. That was his catchphrase, was, I like sex with ladies.
Yeah, it didn't go over very well. It's just because people are like...
If you smell what The Rock is cooking, I like having sex with ladies.
Although he did have that song about pie, which,
Yeah, he did.
He sure did. So, it's amazing that the thing that tipped me off about the connection between the cologne and the colognes was actually the fact that there was tree frog excrement that they could smell or taste. I was like, oh, Puerto Rican tree frog. I get it now. And it's like everything in the cologne was something from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, they
it's just so good.
They've done a mystery. Actually, I think both shows have a good mystery thing going on.
Yes.
Because Raw's whole thing right now, and I think we can talk about this because it's not really a major part of the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing going on right now with Enzo and Cass. Enzo keeps getting attacked, and they think it's the top guys, the Revival, Dash and Dawson, the world's greatest tag team. But Corey Graves is like, I don't know, is he like a gossip columnist now?
I hope so. Corey Graves becoming also a character would be
is
perfect.
Huge. He's going to. It's clear from both his performance on television and the way that people talk about him in interviews with, like, Sports Illustrated and stuff like that, that the company thinks he's the future of their broadcast, like, team. Mm. Like, him and Renee seem to really be, like, two people who are characters on the show and all in the way that Mean Gene was, and aren't just like a Sean Mooney type.
Yeah.
Aren't Sean Mooney. They're more the Mean Gene types, which is really cool to see it happen. And he seems like he could end up branching out and becoming an actual character on the show. Corey Graves, I mean, where he's, like, also an announcer, but an announcer in the way that, like, Bobby Heenan was an announcer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm into it. Corey Graves is the man. And
yeah, he's a really talented guy who I didn't like as a wrestler at all, but has really...
I did not. Although, I definitely still make stay down jokes every time I hear it. I just put my fist out. Whenever I hear stay down from anyone, it's just, whoa, hold on.
Stay down!
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like where they're going with that storyline because it would also make sense for Big Cass to want to beat up Enzo.
Oh my god. Here's the problem with figuring out who is beating up Enzo. Who hasn't he pissed off?
Well, that's, I think... Yeah, you're saying in terms of a mystery, it's a good mystery, or you're saying that's why it's... Oh, okay.
It's so
you're like, that's why it's stupid.
It's like, yeah, it could totally be Big Cass, but that's just how much Enzo pisses people off.
Yeah, and runs his mouth and gets them into situations they don't want to be in. Like, Big Cass has a legitimate claim to be like, I could be in the world title picture if it wasn't for you. I was already competing for the Universal Championship when you were hurt. And they've built that storyline in. And to have Corey Graves become a character, like, in that moment, where he, like, leaves the broadcast position and goes to Kurt Angle, and they have that weird... Do people know that that's happening, or are we just seeing a backstage scene? And, like, I didn't understand that totally, because, like, they were like, where'd you go? And it's like, he went to go speak with Kurt Angle. They probably put it on the video board, didn't they? But I guess not. Like, it's weird to tell what was supposed to be seen by people in the crowd and not. But I think it's interesting to see him, like, pushing a storyline forward that's this big. It's a big storyline. Like, it's a full corner of their show now. Not the cornerstone, but, like, there's an actual recurring segment, it feels like it's going to be going forward. Like, they've built a feud, including him.
It's going to be fascinating to see where it's going, and honestly, it's much more intriguing than most of the storytelling that's going on Raw right now. Like, I'm fine with the main event stuff, but everything else has just been...
Yeah.
Gah, which we'll get to. But this is something that is not gah.
Yeah, and I do like, and I was kind of joking when I said it, but I think having other elements of other television genres on Raw and SmackDown is a good way to keep people interested. Like, it keeps me interested because it's something we don't usually see. Mysteries are usually stupid or way too high stakes. They're like Enzo keeps on getting his ass kicked in the back, but Enzo's like the 10th guy on a 9-man roster. It's not like who ran over Stone Cold.
Yeah, and it's nice
and who destroyed the fashion police department.
So my only issue is I'm afraid that it will go down the same road as like Goldust R-Truth, which started hot, and it was like, oh shit, we're getting like old Goldust back, and he's gonna be legitimate and like be a guy instead of a jobber, even if it's only like in the Intercontinental level. But then like a week later, they're going, okay, let's do R-Truth do like mocking the promo room stuff already, and now it's like funny and goofy again.
I could see them, I don't want to say swerving, but I feel like that we're going to see a lot more viciousness from Goldust. Like, we know he can go there, and I think R-Truth, they're going to play it as though he thinks he's playing, and Goldust isn't playing. Like, Goldust is going to mess him up like he used to when he was Intercontinental Champion in the mid-90s and was, like, one of the big rising stars in the company. Mm-hmm. Like, I could see that. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I think they're actually going to do something with Goldust. But
I hope so, because, man, he's Goldust.
Yeah, he's great. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer as far as I'm concerned, and he can still really go.
Listen, they just don't let him. But, man, you go to a house show or whatever, you're going to see him wrestle for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's fantastic. And he's been that way since he was very young. Like, watching him in the WWF when I was a kid was weird because you didn't get, like, he's incredible. Because if you watch, like, early 90s WCW when he's having matches with, like, Stone Cold and stuff like that, he's bouncing all over the ring. And he's huge. He's enormous.
He is a massive dude. And
He is Randy Orton if Randy Orton constantly gave a shit.
Well, sorry, I can't imagine that in any form, so...
Before we move on to the pay-per-view and Raw, we should talk about... I don't want tragedy seems like a strong word, but...
should we talk about the women in the Money in the Bank ladder match before?
Oh, you wanna talk about them?
Just that it's cool. It's overdue.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is cool.
It's also the only thing the only thing that made me not be super upset about there not being a women's ladder match for the SmackDown Championship at Mania was the thought that, oh, they're just holding it so they can do a women's ladder match at Money in the Bank. So if they hadn't done that, I would then be retroactively angry.
You'd be super double angry.
It's like, well, I waited, I was patient, and I was wrong.
Here's the thing with the Money in the Bank match. I have a really bad feeling they're going to give it to... I think there's one wrong person to give it to.
In the women's division?
It's Natalya. And I'm afraid that's what they're going to do. Oh, well, Tamina, but Tamina shouldn't even count.
Well, I think we'll see what the plan is, because, like, as of now, do they just say it's for the number one contender, or do they not say, like, what it's actually for?
I think they said Money in the Bank match.
Yeah, so if there's a briefcase, Carmella would be my pick to win it.
Yes, and I think you can do a storyline with everyone other than Natalya.
And I think Carmella makes sense with the little bit of tension they were sowing in the welcoming committee. Because then you have a power struggle within the welcoming committee for who's actually in charge. Is it the person who thinks she's in charge or the person who actually is in charge?
Yeah, because at least, like, let's say Tamina somehow wins. You can have Tamina and Carmella get into a thing, and then Carmella beats Tamina to get possession of the briefcase. With Natalya, there's no way Carmella could do anything with Natalya. She would destroy her.
Well,
so
she does have James Ellsworth.
That is true, and God bless him.
Yes.
He is, I mean, SmackDown, we talk about this every week, is consistently very good. He is just another guy who's just like a good performer that hits his spots and does what he's supposed to. He's a joy to watch.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I love that he was so successful as a good guy, and then it's just reality sets in of like, well, we can't actually have you win a championship, so you want to be a huge dick every week?
Yeah.
You want to be Big Hog?
Excellent. I miss Daniel Bryan so much. Does Becky... What do we have... I don't want to say odds, but let's do percentage. I feel like she has like a 5%... Becky has a 5% chance of winning. Carmella, to me, is the overwhelming favorite.
Yeah. Becky has a much better chance of getting in Charlotte's crosshairs than us getting Charlotte versus Becky.
Which, God bless you. Thank you.
I need that injected directly into my veins.
Yeah, Charlotte... As I forgot who said it, but rampaging badass was the word that they used. Is perfect to just. She is a Terminator. Though. Can we talk about before we get back to the tragedy that happened at the end of the show? How many people were gonna clean off that table?
I love the look of disappointment on everyone where they're like, I wanted to knock stuff off the table. And they just kept doing it. Like, they were not to be deterred by the lack of stuff on the table. They were just like, there's still papers here.
I think it was Tamina who did the second, like, wiping, or Natalya, it was one of the two. And they, like, went to, like, wipe off the paper, but it wasn't moving because it's heavy paper, because it's, like, a full television script. And Charlotte, apparently seeing this, like, picks up one of the scripts and throws it. I'm the dominant, genetically superior one. I can lift things off of a table and throw them very far.
Oh, man, it was very satisfying, by the way, for Natalya to actually go through the table.
Oh, dude, I kept on... I don't usually get, like, those tease spots don't work on me necessarily, but when they do... It's a shot directly to my heart. It was so good because I'm like, just fucking put somebody through the goddamn table. And then I was like, yeah, it's Charlotte.
And I'm not even one of those people who was mad about like Sasha bouncing off the table twice in the Hell in a Cell match because I actually thought that added to it. Because it made Charlotte seem more brutal. Where she's like, oh, you didn't go through the table, huh? And then slams her down again. It's like, well, doesn't matter now because your back is fucked up.
Yeah, you're dead now. I don't care. Like, you bounced last time. This time you thudded and slipped off.
Yeah, so it worked. And I understand it didn't work for everyone, but, you know, man, Natalya went through that thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I really hope it's for the briefcase and not just number one contendership, because I want to see Carmella running around with the briefcase, finally getting heat.
James Ellsworth.
And James
holding the
James Ellsworth as well. Yeah, but I mean that's how you will get people to react to Carmella. She's paired with Ellsworth. Let her make her own little, not Team Rocket because they were beloved, but like let her make her own little thing. And when she finally goes to cash in on someone that everybody loves, the boos will rain down. It's like a mission accomplished.
Also, I like the development of Carmella and Ellsworth's relationship in the sense that, like, she's seeming to start to like him, I guess would be the best. Like,
still is friend.
Yes, but, like, I think they're starting to develop what I hoped they would, which was, like, an actual, she sees his purpose and benefit and genuinely doesn't want to lose him, whether or not it's for entirely selfish reasons. She's not, like, he's not expendable to her, but he is, like, elastic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want him cut off, but she's like, he'll throw himself in front of people. I don't really care. Like, thank you. And I appreciate that.
It works for him, too, because Ellsworth isn't sitting there, like, pining for Carmella.
Exactly.
He understands he plays an important role in everything, and he just thinks everyone else wants him, and he's too good for them, so, like, he's in a weird way. He works as a delusional person because from the beginning, literally, the thing that made him famous is the most delusional thing anyone has ever said, which is a man with two... against Braun Strowman, who's literally twice his size. It probably has more fists than that, too. Like, I understand he only has 2 hands, but somehow he has more fists.
If a man can close his fist completely around your fist, that's 2 fists. He has 4 fists.
He probably closed his fist around Ellsworth's head.
Oh, God.
Wouldn't even get poked by a chin.
Yeah. So we have Carmella probably winning that. Charlotte maybe, and I can see Charlotte winning it and just being like, "Here, we're doing this." Like, or the babyface style. I don't think she will, but I think Becky doesn't have a chance. I really think Carmella is the only one that really makes sense.
Yeah, she needs it the most, and it will make Natalya insecure, which is the best version of Natalya. So when Natalya thinks she has something to prove and she's a bad guy, it's wonderful. I mean, that's how you ended up with the welcoming committee in the first place. Like, Charlotte showed up and Natalya was immediately like, meeting everyone.
Best cat friends meeting. It is no longer the best cat friends group. It is now the welcoming committee. And they're all just like, what are you talking about? Are you drunk right now, Natalya? And she just has catnip and she's just sniffing it. That'll be the next mystery.
Oh, God. So I assume I know what the tragedy you're talking about is.
Dolph fucking Ziggler. What? I know
why it happened.
Listen. I understand that we're an explicit podcast and that we can curse. But I want to curse for so much and so long about this that I'm not going to, but I want you guys to know that it was in there. He's so lame. He's not going to win anything.
But he wasn't the hometown wrestler.
That's not a reason to have somebody lose a match.
Are you sure?
The guy, when he's the best wrestler in the world, and I don't mean in the sense of like, well, he is the best, and he has the highest work rate. I mean, the show itself argues for him being the best wrestler in the entire world.
What have I said before? The worst thing you can do in WWE is have a hometown. Just be hailed from parts unknown. Just be hailed from somewhere you're never going to go. That's fine.
Oh.
That's the way to do it. You think Tyler Breeze is ever going to lose in his hometown? No. Because they're not wrestling in his seasonal residences.
But when he's in Milan, if they go to Milan, what happens then?
He won't have a seasonal residence there. He's not an idiot.
Oh, so seasonal residence is like a metaphor.
Yeah. No, he has seasonal residences. They change seasonally.
Does he... I'm confused about the logistics of this, especially in like a cop's salary. How is he...
Fashion police?
Fashion police. I feel like they make less money.
No, they make... How else would they afford the proper fashion?
Is that important? Because they just seem to be wearing like... I'm pretty sure Fandango was wearing a sailor's outfit last night in the, you know how they have the like, oh, this is the next matchup, and they have the graphics. Mm-hmm. I'm like 102% sure Fandango was just wearing a sailor's outfit, complete with like a bunch of naval medals.
Yeah, those things aren't cheap.
He's a police officer.
He is.
Is he a naval like? Is he in the NCIS?
He's whatever is in style at that moment.
You mean like from like a criminal justice perspective?
Yes, and more. Because again, they're fashion police. It's different.
We'll have to table this for, yeah, because that doesn't make it look a goddamn sense to me, Mark. I'm sorry. And neither does Dolph Ziggler.
I'm telling you, hometown. That's it.
I mean,
they were even hometown adjacent, and that was it.
Have it be Sami Zayn and Dolph.
No.
Why is Dolph?
You gotta play up the. You gotta play up the Dolph Ziggler is the only guy who's won Money in the Bank. But what's great about this is that it makes it.
He didn't win a ladder match though. He won an actual match against an AJ Styles.
But what's great about this is I think it's worth it to me that AJ Styles has lost to Dolph Ziggler because it guarantees Dolph Ziggler is not winning the briefcase.
That you speak truth to my heart, Mark.
Like everything costs something, you know? And I'm fine with this price. I would much rather that Ziggler lose the Money in the Bank match than be defeated by AJ Styles, get an Atlanta pop, and then Ziggler wins the briefcase by throwing AJ Styles off a ladder.
I don't even joke about Dolph Ziggler winning again. That makes me nauseous.
Also, we should have known, because, like, when does Atlanta win the big one?
Oh, that's a deep burn.
They didn't even feel it. They're numb.
Deep burn. They brought it up a couple of times. The Usos brought it up. It's not very nice.
But it is true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What a game. So do you have anything to add? Because I don't want to talk about Randy Orton. It was just kind of completely tone deaf. We talked about that last week. That like this is our fear, but hopefully he beats him, and then we don't have to worry about it again.
Gender.
Don't hinder gender, WWE. That rumor that they're happy made me happy.
Yes.
Those are the ones I look for. I like those. They're like, oh, positive energy. That's great.
Yeah.
So Raw was good. It wasn't great, but it was very, very serviceable. And I mean that in the literal sense.
What about Raw pay-per-view Extreme Rules?
Because it serviced the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. It did a very good job of the world not stopping before a pay-per-view, but them being aware that there was a pay-per-view at the end of the week. And I think they, like, if you go through the card, like, all right, here's a question. Is it Rich Swasha Banks? Or is it Sashwan?
I don't have an answer, but only because I'm blinded by rage at the idea of a mixed tag match being added to Extreme fucking Rules.
Mark.
Nick.
Intergender wrestling is extreme.
It's not intergender.
What do you mean?
It's mixed tag. It's two singles matches happening at the same time.
Does that bother you?
It bothers me because Extreme Rules is supposed to be a place where the rules are extreme. But here, the only thing extreme about the rules is the number of them. Because there are even more rules in this version of tag team wrestling.
So, and they're also draconian. I should include that. I mean, and we could have an hour-long discussion on whether or not we trust the WWE to do mixed gender wrestling.
But, it's not even, if it was intergender, I'd be down for it. But it's...
Yeah, or intergender, I should say.
It's not. And also, I like Rich Swann. I like whatever weird sounds you were making when you were trying to say their team name. What is he doing here in this feud instead of Cedric Alexander, who is back, who was already feuding with Noam Dar, who was, like, on-screen dating Alicia Fox? What's the deal here? Why is he not?
Can you handle this?
I can't handle that match. I don't want to handle that match. I'm also annoyed about the fact that we've got between 205 Live, like between the Cruiserweight division and Raw, in their 4 hours of combined screen time they have managed to squeeze in 4 women total into the programming, to the point where Nia Jax is now tweeting about how SmackDown does a better job of booking their women.
Do you think she's upset about that?
I would be.
They only have 3 hours to fill a show that often drags for 20 to 30 minutes at a time.
Think of it this way. SmackDown's created an environment where Tamina Snuka is in a number 1 contenders match, essentially. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. It's SmackDown. Everyone gets these chances. Everyone's in the main event at all times in the women's division. That's how it works. And then in Raw, it's like, they have other wrestlers, right?
And I think it's fair. To be fair, I should say, to Rich Swann and Sasha Banks and Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, this is a valid feud.
Oh, it totally is. I just don't understand why Swann is in it, and I don't understand why this is the direction they went.
And I understand that Sasha is actually, and that's the cool part, is that Sasha is such a star that they're using her to get attention, and they did it by starting 205 Live with her. Like, they're using her to get attention on storylines in another show.
Yeah,
that's great. I don't have an explanation for why Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander. Like, I don't. I just don't, unless people were like, unless they were like, we don't want to see Alicia Fox and Cedric Alexander get back together again. I can't imagine what they're like. What the pushback against that would have been.
Yeah, I don't. It's annoying. But I am, like you said, I am glad that Sasha is helping prop up 205 Live, and that they believe someone like Sasha can prop up 205 Live, which is to say they think a woman can prop up a show.
And I feel like this could be a match where you do actually see spots between, at least like Sasha doing something to Noam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see intergender spots, if not an entire match. I could see that her kicking Noam in the head.
Although I will say, they didn't really do that in the NXT mixed tag match that they did not call a mixed tag match to the last minute. And if they were going to run these experiments, I feel like they would do it there.
But I think for something like this, where it's much more perception based in terms of the crowd reaction, you can't use NXT. Like, I feel like you have to. Though. Maybe I do not. I understand the hang-ups. I am sympathetic, I should say, to the hang-ups of the WWE on a match like this, given their platform and their horrible history. But it's hard to like critique the match even on an artistic level without understanding the constraints that they have and why they have those constraints. It's really hard to talk about a match like this.
It is, but it kind of makes me wish they just wouldn't do mixed tag matches. Because they're generally not good. I mean, the Cena Nikki, like, that one at Mania had so much build to it, and it felt different. It felt real different. It felt really house showy main event in a way. So yes. I think there were reasons like where that was okay.
And you have
and they were trying to hide Nikki too, you know. Since she was.
So you have Emma and Santino versus Summer Rae and Fandango.
Yeah, that was amazing.
One of the best tag matches I've ever seen. Full stop.
But it's also because that like real fun house show thing. It's hard to have a
normal match.
Yeah, it's hard to have a very normal match because all of the tag team conventions do not apply because you are switching out singles matches. And
which you could make this a 2 out of 3 falls match, and whoever like there are ways to do this where you can have both of these performers work together.
Yeah,
like you can have Sasha and Rich Swann switch off, and like if Rich loses and Sasha wins, it's Sasha and Alicia for the last. However you want to do it, you can do some fun stuff with it where like one person doesn't feel like they have a chance. There's ways to work in all 4 competitors in a match that's the same length is less convoluted, despite the fact that it might have more moving parts, because it's just understood these are separate matches. This isn't a match happening in a parallel universe to this other match.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done an extreme version of a tag match with no tagging, where it's just 2-on-2.
Yeah,
and not
with it kind of understood.
Yeah, that it's like Alicia versus Sasha, but whichever team scores a pin first is.
And that allows you to do a spot where Sasha gets a pin against Noam.
Yeah.
And not have it be convoluted.
Throws them in the bank statement or something,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the mixed tag match is essentially the laziest. I just wish they'd get rid of it because they would be forced to think of other ways to achieve these goals.
Yeah, it is their least creative stipulation match, and it's always a disappointment when they have that on a card, except for very specific, either incredibly good matches or incredibly good storylines. You have to have one or the other. It's almost impossible to get both.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is probably going to be this could end up being a really good match. I do actually have faith in all four performers at that level, but I think this is probably going to be the most disappointing match if it were on the main show. But it's the kickoff. It's a totally fine kickoff match. I'm assuming it's a kickoff match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got? Besides the whole rest of the card.
We have Cruiserweight Champion Neville versus Austin Aries in a submission match.
I saw people angry that there is a submission match at Extreme Rules, but
because they want to bring back Breaking Point, obviously.
Yeah. It also, I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to have, because Neville is cheating in order to keep his title. Now he can't cheat. There is no cheat.
Actually, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a no DQ submit? In other words, is it WrestleMania 13 style submission match where you just have to make the other guy say give up, but it's not? There are no other rules otherwise.
Yeah, I mean that's how these things. It's just like a triple threat where everything goes.
Yeah, because it's superseded by that. Yeah, then it's an Extreme Rules match where they just have to end it with a submission.
Yeah. I mean, he could still beat him to death with a chair first, and then, put his lifeless body in the Rings of Saturn. He can still do that.
He's winning this, right?
Man, I don't know. Which is kind of nice. I wish he'd win. Here's the problem for me, I think. Austin Aries has made himself the only guy who can believably beat Neville. But where do you go from there? The division's not really set up for where you go after Neville. Because who's?
I don't know who's in the division.
But yeah, well, see, you can't even answer my
I would
question.
assume
who's the big challenger for Aries?
Tozawa would be my guess because you just had him beat out Brian Kendrick.
Isn't Tozawa a face?
I don't know if you know much about Austin Aries, but he's not a good guy.
No, I know, but
he's a bad guy. He's not the guy. He's just a bad guy.
But he's a good guy right now.
Yeah, but I think he is literally the easiest person to turn on Earth.
Sure.
Because he's an actual monster dickhead.
Oh, absolutely. Except you need him to, feud against someone before that happens. And I don't know who they have.
Gentleman Jack? That would be my guess.
Man.
Well, you have to remember, he's not... Austin Aries and Neville have a lot of cachet in the company. We love Gentleman Jack, but, I don't think he's championship material, but I think he's in championship match material.
Oh, no, I'm really bored by the fact that he's fallen into the, I'm having the same match every week. And I don't just mean the booking.
Well, you know what? Maybe Austin Aries will switch it up, or probably not, because it's Austin Aries, but probably, yeah, almost definitely not. But I think we kind of have to deal with what there are. If the end result is Tozawa versus Aries, then I think it's worth it.
Sure, but I'm saying I don't think that I don't know if they're going to have Aries win because I don't think they're set up for a post Neville.
Oh, okay. Now I understand better what you're saying. That
it's not that I'm arguing
Aries win because they didn't build the road ahead of them.
Bingo. Like, Neville,
Okay.
the challenger for Neville is still literally anybody. Because he's going to be more... Yeah, he's saying he's the best, so, like, anyone can come up. He's going to be more brutal than anyone. I mean, he managed to turn Austin Aries' face.
Just by virtue of how big of a dick he was.
Yeah. So, Big Hog Neville.
Wait, so... Oh, big... Are you saying James Ellsworth versus Neville when you say Big Hog Neville, or...
No.
Because I would pay to see that. That's me slapping money in my own hand.
So Enzo's going to join the Cruiserweights after Big Cass, like, throws him into orbit, right? Because
I hope so.
Where else do you go?
Great cruiserweight.
Yeah, I'd be fine with him there.
He could be a championship cruiserweight 2 or 3 years down the road. Like, he can't do it right now, but he's a good enough seller. Like, he can really take an ass whipping that you could build him up the card in a way that would be believable. And he's a really good talker for someone who's a terrible, obnoxious talker.
Yeah. Enzo's amazing because, like, I love having him around, even when I don't like him in a particular moment.
Yeah.
Because
And
he always gets his receipts. Like, every time he does something terrible, he gets the shit beat out of him.
Yep.
It's never a situation where you're like, oh man, I wish someone would punch Enzo in the face. Well, I mean, it's always that situation, but you don't wait for more than 10 seconds.
And I think the thing with Enzo, both as a character and a performer, is there's... This is going to sound very cheesy. Real vulnerability. Like, it's clearly a lot of it, both in and out of kayfabe, is bravado. Like, he is clearly putting on a show. So, like, when he gets his ass kicked, you're like... Enzo, you could have just kept your mouth shut. Like, you really feel like that friend that gets you into fights at bars kind of feel, where you're just like, no, we're 30. This has to stop.
Yeah, I made a video today of, like, who's attacking Enzo Amore, and I was essentially like, yes, Big Cass is betraying Enzo, but also he's right? So, nuance.
Yeah, we understand where he's coming from, but... Enzo deserved, if it ends up being Big Cass, to have Big Cass come up to him man to man, or person to person, and break it off and not attack him from behind.
My counterpoint to that is, when would Cass get in a word edgewise?
Well, and here's the thing. He is big and strong enough to hold down Enzo and tape his entire body until he's a mummy.
Maybe he did that. Maybe the reason Enzo was so tired is because he got out of all the tape.
So yeah, I think Neville wins. I think Neville's going to be champion for a long ass time.
I hope so.
I think he's going to be champion until the next cruiserweight tournament.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
I assume they're doing another one.
I don't know. Who knows?
Do you not like his championship? Is that reign?
His championship reign is awesome. Everything else about the cruiserweights has been kind of like, eh. So that's the problem for me, is that we're still at that point where, like, Neville is literally a god in this division, and I don't care about any of his people.
It doesn't feel like an existential crisis in the way that, like, Taka being light heavyweight champion or Brian Christopher being, like, it feels like this title has staying power and he is going to be the first great champion of it.
Oh, sure. I just, I assume he will
frustrating
hold it until we have anyone else worth a shit. But it's the wait for someone else worth a shit that's kind of hurting me, because it doesn't even look like there's necessarily potentials. But, you know, I don't know. I want to see Cedric Alexander versus Neville so hard.
Yeah, and that might be why they're not bogging him down with a relatively low stakes.
Not giving him anything, you know? So I don't know. I know he just got back, but I'm kind of sad. Also, let's take a moment
to hug.
No, let's take a moment. This will be like a hug. Let's just take a moment. Taka was pretty great. He was just in the wrong place.
Oh, 100%. He was awesome.
Okay. I just want to make that clear.
That wasn't
no one here is making fun of Taka.
Yeah, Brian Christopher. Yes.
Although I do love all of those moments where Jerry Lawler just hates Taka forever.
Also, much better worker than he's given credit. Like, him and Scott Taylor, could really go. They were totally good tag team, and both of them could really work. But, God, I hated his face. And it makes sense, because I hate Jerry Lawler. growing up as a Bret Hart fan, not being a misogynist, like those two things.
Going back and watching like Lawler vs. Warrior is one of the hardest things for me. Because I'm like, can you both lose? Is that possible for both of you to just fucking eat it?
Yes, they both did lose. Look at the shirts that Jerry Lawler wears.
Is
that any kind of life?
The most, though?
Us?
Yes. See, you did it. The fans.
So yeah, all right. We both have Neville.
Yeah, let's talk about something that's not Jerry Lawler or Ultimate Warrior or Brian.
Cesaro versus the Hardy Boys.
Okay, real talk. If Sheamus and Cesaro don't win here, what are we doing?
I give up. They are, first of all, the most fucking awesome tag team I have ever seen in my entire goddamn life.
Like, the heel versions of them should never lose, right?
Ever.
Because, look at them. Look at them.
They are demon monsters from the apocalypse. Like, in movies, they would be the dudes that come in to beat you up. Like
man, peak LOD in the ring would hear their music and see them come out and be like, oh shit, look at those huge guys.
And one of them is M. Bison. Like, a literal embodiment of M. Bison. The murderous dictator from Star Trek? No, Street Fighter.
Can you imagine if Cesaro had Raul Julia's charisma?
He'd be universal champion in a literal sense. Yeah. He would be like
every championship in every promotion. Once he's not even in, they'd just be like, I'm sorry, Cesaro couldn't make it to defend the title. Come back later.
To be fair, if I had that man's charisma, I would be president right now, and I am 29. He'd be like, we don't care.
It's not even legal.
We don't care. You're great. Oh, God. Sorry. That'll be an entire... that's another podcast. But Sheamus and Cesaro have reached that weird level. Randy Orton, when he first started doing the, like, snake mannerisms. Chris Jericho, when he got the trunks, he got his big boy pants. And he started to wear suits and stuff like that. Like, that kind of feel where you're like, if you're paying attention, they are onto something very real. Like, this has the potential to be like a juggernaut tag team. Because they just have this perfect chemistry and look, and they've earned what they've done, and they are incredible in the ring. That entrance is so awesome and so simple. I love them so much. Like, I've always been high on Sheamus more than most people. Same. And less high in Cesaro than most people. I love Cesaro, but I was never upset he wasn't world champion, because I understand there's a lot more stuff that goes into that. But, like, he has to win. They have to win the tag team championships on Sunday.
Yeah, I rarely say that, but it's because, like, storyline sense. And also, just in terms of, like, what you're going to do next. The Hardys should not be tag team champions forever. The Hardys won the belt so that they could lose them in traumatic fashion to put someone else over.
Yeah.
And they've already been turned on by Sheamus and Cesaro, allowing them to go heel. Losing to them makes sense, especially if it helps give you the next evolution of the Hardys, whatever that is. It doesn't even have to be broken, but, like, they don't necessarily need to be a tag team. Jeff and Matt can both do their own thing, and anything that brings us closer to, like, that, where we can move on from the nostalgia tour and get closer to, like, the pre-return versions of them. And again, not necessarily even talking broken, just, like, them as individual performers with their own thing. And not just from Team Xtreme.
And they don't have to feud each other.
Right. I mean, they can just be like,
they could, but they can build towards, they can be like, listen, we had a good run as tag team champions. Why don't we try to get gold on each, like, why don't we try to go for the big singles belts? Like, totally reasonable thing to do. They've won a bunch of titles. Sheamus and Cesaro. You can even have them lose twice to Sheamus and Cesaro, which they'll do because of the rematch clause. And just have it be, like, final when they lose. Like, have them lose a TLC match to Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yeah, meanwhile, what happens if Sheamus and Cesaro lose? You've created this new big thing that touts itself as being part of the future. Then what do you do? They
have to, right? This would be and this is not an exaggeration, enough to make me stop, like, giving a shit about Raw. If, like, I would still watch it, because and we'll get to it, the main event's very good, but, like, this is one of the few things, like, we'll get to Alexa and Bayley next. That segment was an abomination. Even before it started, it looked like it, like, even before it was a thing, it was bad, and that never got any better. Like, Sheamus and Cesaro are the only thing that keeps me going through the non-main event parts of Raw.
Yeah, it's pretty dire down there.
And the main event is amazing.
Yeah, the main event looks great. Let's
and that's not including Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
So
he's not even there for now. But yeah, let's get to the next match, and we will.
So we both have Cesaro and Sheamus winning, right?
Yes.
We both think they're going to win, and we don't just want them to win.
Correct.
Yeah. Alexa and Bayley. First of all,
is the match in Alexa's hometown?
No.
Okay, thank God.
Hold on. What's the location? I don't know.
Oh, while you're looking it up, I will tell you. Money in the Bank is in St. Louis.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
It was touch and go there for a while. I was nervous.
No hometowns.
Baltimore, Maryland.
Gender.
Baltimore, Maryland.
All right.
Extreme Rules is in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
We're good. Thank God. Woo! So Bayley is terrible now, and I hate her.
Her character is terrible, and you hate
her. God bless Bayley as a person, but it's like even the character on like Instagram, just great. I know I'm cursing a lot this episode, but holy motherforking shirt balls! A kendo stick on a pole match.
I mean, I'm fine with kendo stick on a pole, honestly. I think it's a good amount of ridiculousness, but I'm also the person who subscribes to, well, no, the women are truly equal when they get the same stupid batshit stuff that the men do.
From that perspective, wholeheartedly agree with you. This is a beautiful moment in the history of terrible garbage wrestling.
Yeah. And
it's true equality.
It's wonderful.
But, like, wasn't...
I mean, wasn't the first, like, this was your life, or this is your life, or whatever the hell it is, wasn't that enough?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, there was no way that this was going to be able to top literally one of the most popular and best regarded segments in the history of professional wrestling.
I mean, the Foley Rock sequel didn't do nearly... It wasn't nowhere near as good.
No.
And yeah, I mean, Alexa, God bless her. She makes anything pretty much tolerable, but... This was stretching it to its limits.
I believe it was whoever does the reviews for AV Club. They do quick hits, and they talked about Alexa is entitled and arrogant. She is not petty, because she understands on some level that pettiness is what gets you, like, the extra kick while they're down is what gets you in trouble. And I think that this segment kind of betrayed that.
Wait, are you saying that the Raw creative team doesn't understand how to write its women characters?
Mark. Okay, this is Dolph Ziggler.
What are you doing here, Dolph?
Girls shouldn't wrestle.
Oh, no, that sounds like Vince Russo.
Oh, right, I mixed those two up because I hate them equally.
Well, let's take a moment to appreciate that Vince Russo recently bragged about how he got in contact with WWE and offered to help them. And then Vince McMahon, he's like, yeah, Vince got back to me. And they're like, okay, what'd he say? And he was like, well, Vince is a man of few words.
No.
So McMahon was just like, no, I'm good. That's fine. I just wanted to give you a call.
Two specifically.
Wanted to give you a call.
One,
to tell you in person. No.
Not appropriate on television. The second one is you.
Oh, God, I hate Vince.
So yeah, Kendo on a stick. Yeah, a stick on a stick match is essentially what this is.
It's so good. It's great. And I really hope Alexa gets it and just beats the shit out of Bayley with it. Because
I want Bayley to die for her sins and be resurrected as original Bayley.
I want Bayley to move past the I am a child with childlike emotion. I want her to, like, move through the progression where she's like, hey, just because I like this shit doesn't, Just because I like bright colors and, you know, sparkly shit, and I'm, like, cool with kids does not mean I am a baby. Like, she needs to move more into the John Cena portion of it instead of being an actual child. Because that's how they portray her. And her reaction to everything that Alexa does is where she's like, I'm not a child, and then she stamps her feet and, like, you know, tries to get her way. So, yes.
Which I think if you're going in the larger thematic ideas of this feud, it's really interesting. The execution has been a Matilda-sized pile of dog shit in the middle of the ring.
Man, because, like, I love Bayley for a lot of things, but the acting and the promos are not one of them.
Oh, God, no. She's in a good promo in the sense that, like, I like interviews with her.
When I feel like I believe what she is saying. When I feel like she believes what she is saying.
Yes, that is very important.
Then I love her as a promo. But when she's doing this stuff, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel right. It's not her. And they should figure out who she is.
And the problem with her, she's one of the few performers where you can't just turn her heel.
I mean, I would kind of be into Bayley just snapping at some point and going heel. Because
I think not just from a business perspective, but like a storyline perspective, you can never get that back.
But like, they've already lost some things because she's such a WWE face already.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, they have her preemptively attacking because they're pretty sure that Dana Brooke was going to cheat.
Yeah,
and you look at Sasha Banks territory.
And you look at Randy Orton, but they do the same thing with her. What they posit as a good person is so problematic, it almost feels like a commentary on what society deems to be. Like, and this is very similar to when you watch old, like, primetime. I've been watching a ton of primetime wrestling. Bobby Heenan is right a lot about a lot of things.
Especially Hulk Hogan.
And not only is, and we talked about this before, Gorilla Monsoon disagree with him, he is actively dismissive in a way that makes you kind of uncomfortable. He'll be like, you're crazy. And it's like, wait, you don't think it's unreasonable that he hit a woman? Like, well, it's Sensational Sherry, and you're like, what? That doesn't make it okay. Oh, she's barely a woman. You're like, Gorilla, are you drunk right now?
Drunk in the 80s.
Acceptable in the 80s. I just want this match. I want this feud to be over, but for something to happen that has actual value in this feud.
The problem is they're the only two women on Raw, so we're just gonna watch them wrestle forever. And yeah.
Didn't they have like 4 women on Raw like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, remember when the coolest thing happening on Raw was the budding Alexa-Nia friendship that was going to turn into something terrible for Alexa, and then Nia
they were best friends
on television?
Yeah,
that was great. It was really cool how they showed us what we could have and then snatched it away from us to give us another fucking revamp of this is your life or whatever.
You don't seem bitter about this at all, Mark.
I am not pleased.
Yeah, so Alexa wins this match, right?
I hope so. And then Bayley needs to go to do literally anything else.
Literally.
I think time away from the championship scene would do Bayley really well. Like, she's got some shit she's got to work out, and it'd be good. Yeah,
there's a reason Sami Zayn wasn't made world champion right away. And I don't mean that like he's on a lower level than her. He can be a main event world champion several times. He's one of the most talented performers in the business.
Well, they escape not pushing quickly because there's actual depth in the men's divisions.
Yeah, and they're just not. You can't have her. You could have her start like 2 steps below, but they had her basically in the main event right away, and you're like,
well, there is no 2 steps below.
Exactly. There's only the 1 step halfway there.
The 1 step is like you're wrestling on Raw and not for the title. Or
she should absolutely not have started on Raw. I think that's also clear.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens if she gets put to SmackDown. Like, it might take her getting put to SmackDown, but we'll see. I mean, she's talented in so many ways, and her and Alexa are capable of putting on great performances in the ring. We've talked before. Bayley's so good at bringing someone up to her level. And that's great, and it's important. But I don't know. You wonder about the rest.
Yeah, yeah. We should move on to
let's move on.
Dean versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Dean Ambrose, not Venture. Dean Ambrose. If Dean Ambrose is disqualified, he will lose the Intercontinental Championship. How stupid is this stipulation?
I love it because I want Maurice to hit Miz immediately. I just want her to go attack. I want her to attack Miz incessantly.
Here's my problem with that. Kurt Angle, and we'll get to this a little bit for the main event. Kurt Angle is a good enough GM that doesn't make sense. Like, Kurt Angle wouldn't want that to be the end result.
And yet, he made the stip.
But he might come out and be like, well, I knew you were going to do that, and I had to see for myself. I had to give you the benefit of the doubt, and you've ruined that, so let's have an actual match. And then Dean Ambrose is Intercontinental Champion still. Is that what you want?
And I mean, that would be fine if they did a bit of the match, and then Maurice came out and, punched Miz in the dick, and Miz was totally accepting of it until it turns out that he didn't automatically win. And then he's very hurt. They're very upset about their plan not working.
Yeah, I don't want Dean Ambrose. First of all, this sounds weird. I want Dean Ambrose away from the Intercontinental title picture so he can move to the main event picture and be less important.
Yeah, God, I really do hope Ambrose loses this. I mean, you use those stipulations so that the heel can take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm. Great, and to be clear, some of the best matches, that Christian Randy Orton match,
dude, that is exactly the one I was thinking of.
He spits in Randy Orton's mouth and Randy Orton just loses it, is one of the best matches of Randy Orton's career. It's
I love it.
Really, really high up on that list.
It's amazing because Randy is doing all he can. It starts with Christian just bringing a chair to the ring and being like, "Oops, I left a chair here. I sure hope no unhinged person picks it up and hits me with it and gets disqualified and makes me the champion."
Randy
even thinks about it. He's like, "Oh, I get disqualified, but also I get to beat him with a chair."
Yeah, because they built that feud into a blood feud where you totally get why Randy Orton wants to murder Christian.
And Christian just spitting in his mouth is... And he gets him. It's not camera angles. He legitimately hawks a loogie into Orton's mouth.
Guys, ladies, folks, we are not exaggerating. Go to that SummerSlam and just...
No, Money in the Bank, I think.
Money in the Bank, sorry. Look for the... Yes, it's 2011 Money in the Bank, because then it's CM Punk.
Such a good Money in the Bank.
That is the best pay-per-view since before. Other than that, it's that and Bash at the Beach 96. Just watch that pay-per-view, but watch it for the Randy Orton-Christian match, where he spits in his mouth.
It's a really good match before that.
Yeah. And then Randy Orton gives you one of the best, stipulation breaking, the opposite of this would be when Batista got taped down in a last man standing match. Whatever the opposite of that is. This was the perfect way to have somebody willingly, it was just perfect. It's so good. This match will not be half as good as that match. Maybe not even a quarter. But The Miz is as good as... It's not that Dean Ambrose is bad. This is a very hard match to pull off. And I don't think he has it in him. And I don't mean that in I think he's a bad... You need a lot of discipline, and Dean Ambrose doesn't seem to have any in terms of crispness, in terms of that stuff. He seems like he's too wild.
It's kind of disappointing, too, to have Ambrose in a non-Extreme match, given that Ambrose is most entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope Miz wins. I think Miz will win.
Yeah. I think we hope Miz wins, even if this were a ladder match, where if Miz wins, Dean Ambrose is set on fire. We'd be still want the Miz to win.
Sorry, Dean, but...
Sorry, Dean. So, yeah, I think the Miz wins, and I think we both want him to win, which is nice. And now, what should be a great match, based on the last couple of weeks of performances, is the Extreme Rules Fatal 5-Way Universal Title #1 Contenders match between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, and Samoa Joe, who, at this point, they are literally just calling Samoan Joe.
Samoan Joseph.
No, like, they are literally just calling him Samoan Joe.
Yeah.
Like, it's not every once in a while. His name seems to be changing to Samoan Joe. Unintended. I think what happened is that Booker started doing it.
Oh, God.
Which, okay, say what you will about Booker.
I did.
I really like him as the third man in that booth. And he will be 100 times better than David Otunga.
I don't know. David Otunga spends his time not talking most of the time, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Wow, you really don't like Booker T.
I mean, he doesn't talk about his, like, Fae 5 anymore enough for me, so...
I thought he did a really good job with, and that's part of the reason I brought that up, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins had a really good match as the main event of Raw this week. And in it, he compared his matches with his brother, Booker did, with Stevie Ray, to the Roman Reigns Seth Rollins thing. And I thought it added a lot of depth to the storytelling that the commentators were doing for a match that, like, is kind of rote in a way. We've seen it a lot. We've seen these two perform together, if not necessarily just straight singles matches, literally hundreds of times. So to have, like, them talk about it from a guy that's experienced it was a nice touch. And there was a segment, or a sequence, in the Roman Reigns-Seth Rollins match that was just... It starts with Roman and Seth doing the headlock, walking around thing, and it devolves into a crisscross move where Seth goes under Roman. Roman puts him in the Samoan drop. Seth reverses the Samoan drop and then does the classic run the guy into the ropes and roll back, which I think is my favorite spot in wrestling. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Well, they either have them, they're holding their back and they run them into the ropes, or they have them in a headlock and to get them off, they run them into the ropes and they, like, roll back. They do, like, a Oklahoma roll back. I've been watching a lot of, like I said, primetime wrestling. It brought me back. It was, like, perfectly encapsulated why these two guys are the main event of the show. Because the spot before that sequence was Seth doing a standing moonsault. And the move after that sequence, which ended with Roman getting a clothesline, was Roman doing a drive-by dropkick into the post. Like, it was a perfect... Like, these guys were crazy athletic, and they could also wrestle a perfect old-school wrestling sequence. They're just the two best... Like, Roman Reigns has turned into, like, a great performer without us even really paying attention to it.
They're really great. And, yeah, I mean, I understand why they separated the two of them, especially because I don't think either's going to actually win the #1 contendership. So it's kind of nice to, like, put them in that spot and make them seem like big, important guys, because they're going to need stuff to do after.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of separating all that stuff, you know, makes sense, because it's not like, even if Finn wins #1 contendership, for example, it's not like he's going to wrestle Brock every week until... Great Balls of Fire. You know, it's like he's going to...
I'd watch that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's probably going to win in a way that pisses off someone else who will wrestle with that, you know, like... Because there's 5 of them, and I don't know. We'll see how it all goes out. But I'm excited for that match. And at least Raw handled the, like, let's make these 5 guys wrestle each other over and over and over again thing. Like, they handled it well enough. In a better way.
And part of that was inherent because, like,
they changed the
matchups, and those are matchups you actually want to see. Even Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins is on that, like, Rock Austin level where you kind of don't care. You're not like, again. They always put on, even, like, Dean and Seth have a worse pairing. Like, Roman and Seth always put on a good show.
And it's weird because they've never wrestled while they're friends.
Yes.
So, kind of an interesting thing. My only disappointment, and this will sound just like I'm mad that Roman Reigns won, but no, like, I don't care about that. It's disappointing they're messing up the, like, rock, paper, scissors of it.
Mm-hmm.
because Seth lost. Seth is supposed to beat Roman. Like, that's how this works. Seth beats Roman, Roman beats Dean beats Seth.
And part of it was that Seth said beforehand, I own Roman, and Roman was like, no, you don't. And that's why he beat, like, that's the reason he was so motivated to beat him. But I agree with you. I think Seth Rollins, or a no DQ finish, or like a DQ finish where like Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe come out to break it up, would have worked fine. They could have done it a bunch of different ways, but it wasn't. I thought that was an exceptional Raw main event, and I was okay with the finish. I think they earned it in their own way, but I have a problem with that being like the ceremonial, like, oh, we finally figured out Seth Rollins thing. Like, that's weird.
Especially when he countered his brand new finisher that's never been used on him before.
Yeah, oops. Yeah. I've been watching tape of that one time you did it.
I've been watching a lot of Kenny Omega matches, so I knew it was coming.
Yeah. The dark match at Raw that you did it once.
So,
and then I thought Finn, Bray, and Samoa Joe, not Samoan Joe. Listen for it.
Samoan Joseph.
Had a really, really good triple threat. You know how much I hate Finn, right? Can't stand him.
You seem much happier this week to even say his name, so.
He has never looked better than that match. I thought he looked like a poor man Seth Rollins.
I think he's looked great since he came. He's looked better on Raw than he looked at NXT.
Oh, yeah. Way more. Yeah. And I think it's actually an Elias Sampson kind of thing where it's like they're big, high-concept characters and they work on a bigger stage.
Yeah, there's stuff, just like there's stuff like Adam Rose, that's only going to work at NXT.
Yes.
Like, really work. You know, there's other stuff where it's like, you don't get it because it's not even an arena. You're in a small place with a few hundred people in it. Yeah, it's... And also, Finn going up against guys like Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe give you an idea of what he's actually up against. Because, like, even Seth Rollins is a big guy. He's not as big as Roman, but he's, like, 6'2". You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Finn's could be in the cruiserweight division if they really wanted to. Flaunt that they don't give a shit about the weight limits. No one would complain that hard. But, like,
Finn is under 200.
Oh, he is? He's what, 198?
He's 195, I think, because he's not tall. And that's like where he gets away with it. I mean, it's the same reason, like, it's a less extreme version of Neville, who, like, Neville has a ridiculous amount of muscle on him. But since he's 5'7" or whatever, he's Finn is 5'11". So, and he's all muscle, but it's only 190 pounds of it because, you know, he's 5'11".
Yeah, he is. Yeah, pretty much all muscle. A lot of muscle.
He wrestles bigger than that though, which is good. And
that's where it first came across, where I can see why. I would rather have Seth Rollins than Finn Balor in a Finn Balor match. But I can see why people are so enamored with him. And I really, really like the one-upsmanship between Bray and Samoa Joe. It feels like it's going somewhere, and it feels like they bring out the best in each other, both in the sense that they like beating people up, so it's fun to watch them interact, and secondly, they're two dudes who, like, fight in the same style, which is, like, just constant clashing, and I thought it worked really well in the triple threat. Also, Bray's weird shit works really well with Samoa Joe, just being like, are you kidding?
Yeah, because when Samoa Joe gets tired of you doing whatever you're doing, he's going to hurt you. And I'm here for that. I'm here for Bray Wyatt getting just obliterated because he paused for 1 second too long on his sister Abigail. I think it's important too that Joe won that triple threat thanks to Finn. You know, like Joe didn't hit his finisher. Finn's finisher is the one that won the day. Like, that's a nice way of alluding to the fact that, like, Finn is probably the guy. Where even Samoa Joe is like, oh shit, yeah, I'm just gonna
he got him with the coup de grace? Cool, yeah. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, exactly. I totally wholeheartedly agree. Like I said, and like you mentioned, this is the one part of Raw that is working well at such a level that you can actually have them do a bunch of the different matchups and have it totally work. And when Braun Strowman comes back, shit's gonna be lit.
I'm really hoping... I hope we get Finn versus Brock. I hope Finn is more game than he looks like people expect him to be. And we don't really get a resolution because then Braun Strowman shows up.
Yes.
And just fucks up both of them. And then we're like, oh god. That's right. That's what we want to see. Braun versus Braun. Yay! And then you've got a built-in reason, if Braun wins, for Finn versus Braun.
Yes.
So
it's going to be... So, the main event scene right now is the best it's... Like... Because Brock's the champion, and then you have these 6 guys below him who are all legit, like, WrestleMania main event level guys.
It's the thing that makes me so mad about the way they treat the women's division, because it's like, you could do this.
Twice.
Yeah. You could do this and take up so much of the show and not have to worry about what's going on here and how you're going to fill this time and do this. Just fucking do it twice.
Fuck it, we'll do it twice.
God, maybe after the women's tournament we'll see if the rosters flesh out, but...
Yeah, I think that's what we can reserve. I'm willing to reserve judgment until then. But we have to have the final judgment for this match.
Finn.
Yeah, Finn.
Nick, just one more thing about Finn. Now, you don't have to... I'm not going to make you say you're wrong about it or anything. Because that's too much. That's going too far. I would like you to just apologize for saying that Finn is worse than Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, yeah. I apologize. I was in a bad place last week.
Good. Okay. I'm glad we can move
Dolph
forward.
Ziggler.
Go ahead.
He's... if he wasn't, like, a wrestler I have hated for years and was just a right-wing internet troll, I would hate him with all of the fibers of my being. The fact that he is a turd sandwich who thinks he's a douchebag. Fuck him. Fuck him. I don't...
Okay.
All right.
So...
Okay.
Dolph Ziggler is a turd sandwich. That's our review for this week, people.
Mark, where can they find you on the internet?
Well, if you can't think of a review, which Nick will tell you where to do the review later when we get to that part. If you can't think of
iTunes,
want to just use our review on iTunes or wherever you review podcasts. I don't know. I don't listen to them.
Or SoundCloud.com/Rudo Radio. That's RUDO.
The review you use is Dolph Ziggler is a turd sandwich.
Yeah. And we'll probably make t-shirts someday with that.
I know, then he might interact with us, and I don't want that.
Oh, God, no. Forget the Don't tell him we had the t-shirt idea. Don't do it.
Ugh. Okay. You can find me on Twitter at Mark _Normandin. It's Mark with a C. I
was going to ask that. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, well, the people know. You can find my wrestling writing daily at CagesideSeats.com. Since we got a pay-per-view coming up, you can see my preview and then the recap for Extreme Rules, the Extreme Inning, at SBNation.com/wrestling.
Wait, isn't Extreme Rules Roadblock? No. End of the line?
No.
Okay.
Extreme Rules, the Extreme Inning. Come on. Speak to you.
You can catch me on Twitter at the Nickster. That's THEN1CKSTER. I just tied Asuka's undefeated streak. Very proud of that.
You realize...
No, don't tell her. Don't tell her. Don't. If you're gonna... Guys, if you're gonna tell, or gals, or folks, if you're gonna tell someone about what we said, make it Dolph Ziggler, because I am afraid of Asuka. I don't want her in my business. I can block Dolph Ziggler. I cannot block Asuka's kick to my face.
Yeah, she'll... And the bad part is you'll deserve it. So...
Oh, totally, because
Yeah, there's no higher ground here. Like with Ziggler, if Ziggler ever did anything to you, you'd be like, well, that guy's still an asshole. With Asuka, you'd be like, wow, I really screwed up there.
I had that coming. I really...
As Nick is eating through a straw...
Is it really eating when it's... never mind. All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing left to say, the only thing left to say is bye.